Hello, welcome to another episode of the 214 Sports Show. We are 94 episodes deep. Episode 94, this is dedicated to the late Marshawn Kneeland. His number, he's going to live in the Dallas Cowboys legacy forever. Rest in peace, Marshawn. Um, but this is going to be a packed episode. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Mavericks, the Stars, the Rangers. All of them have had some recent news as of late. The Cowboys, Mavs, and Stars in the season. The Rangers about to start their free agency. But before we get into that, I'm TJ Krilowicz. This is Joe. Joe, you look like you're outside today, huh? Enjoying the weather, the cold weather up there.
It looks like it, but I'm just near a window in one of these floors here in one of my buildings. But yeah, the weather has been absolutely insane for a guy from Texas. It's interesting to see how it can just snow one day and then act like it's never even had anything the next. So it melted so fast when it snowed last Veterans Day this past week. But since then, it's been pretty cold. It's only going to get colder as we progress in the months.
Oh yeah, I mean when it gets cold in Texas, it gets particularly really windy. Is it windy up there too? Sheesh, man.
Off and
Sheesh.
on, off and on. It's a
Prayers,
different wind.
prayers
It's
up for
like
you, man.
it gets to your bones up here.
I don't know how you can say get some of that weather up there, winter weather up there. Going to be tough, but we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys first in this podcast. Of course, coming off of a very emotional win against the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football. I believe the final score was 33 to 16, 33 to 17, maybe. And yeah, I mean, just first off, what were the main takeaways that you got from that, Joe, from that game?
I've never seen interior defensive linemen play like that for the Dallas Cowboys. I know it was the Raiders. I know it was the Raiders, but something about that game spoke to me. I mean, how many times do you see the two highest graded interior linemen for PFF were both Cowboys this week? Can you believe that? Both.
I can't.
So it's just unreal. This three-headed monster that the Cowboys have now, and Quentin Williams, Kenny Clark, both acquired this season, and of course, Osa Odighizuwa, the third in the three-headed monster. Unreal to watch. I cannot believe this is what the Cowboys have now. Growing up, of course, we're not used to having dominant interior play. Run defense is always a struggle every single year. 6 rushes for 7 yards, Ashton Jeanty had. Unbelievable to see. And again, it's easy to say, like, why can't you be more, down the line on this? It's the Raiders. We just haven't seen it. And with all that's going on in Dallas sports this year, you've had Luka Doncic shipped off. You've had Micah Parsons shipped off as well. And we've seen how this defense has played in 2025 this year. I think this is a step in the right direction for sure, albeit not a great Chip Kelly-led Raiders offense led by Geno Smith. When you have good pressure, look at that. Look how much better your secondary can play. Deron Bland had a much better game. When you have a more solid pass rush and more pressure towards your quarterbacks, it's much more possible to look better in the back end. So that's how I look at this game. Not so much the offense, but the defense that has looked like a completely different thing, a 180 in Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah, and I again, this is the Las Vegas Raiders, like you said. Um, but we talked on this podcast the week before and mentioned how we're like, hey, don't give up the fact that, this team has made mediocre to bad quarterbacks look very good this season so far, and Geno Smith could have a good game. That defense shut him out. I mean, 27 for 42, 238 yards, had a pick, only one touchdown, got sacked 4 times. I don't know what the season high is for sacks for the Cowboys, but four seems like a pretty high number for what we've been doing this season. Um, and yeah, I mean, you talked a little bit about the defense. Obviously, the acquisition of Quentin Williams. He had in a fantastic game. He had 1 sack in 8 games for New York. Comes in, gets 1.5 sacks in his first game as a Cowboy. Kind of what we are used to seeing from Quentin Williams, and hopefully something that we as Cowboys fans can get used to for Quentin Williams. But I'll flip it over to the offense. Obviously, the offense dominated, but I want to talk about how this offense has looked very different on the road versus at AT&T Stadium. The one road win that we have so far this season was the New York Jets. So, the two road wins that we have so far this season aren't very impressive, but when you put those two together, hey, this is pure mid right now for the Cowboys. Pure mid. They have they can beat down on the bad teams on the league, but once it gets to the competitive teams or even just a 500 team on the road, they get very the offense starts to stifle a little bit. The defense has struggled. But, hey, hopefully they've turned a new leaf with this game. Hopefully this is a confidence booster because, man, are they gonna need it? Because this schedule is relentless for the rest of the month and heading into December. We talked about it a lot, but you got the Eagles now on Sunday. Then you go to Thanksgiving, you play the Kansas City Chiefs, and then you have a Thursday night football game against the Lions in Detroit
Oh,
right after
Jesus.
that. 3 games in 11 days, all against two of them against Super Bowl, the Super Bowl teams from last year, and another of the Detroit Lions, who have always been ranked as one of the top teams. Having a down year, though. Having a down year. Not in the playoff picture right now. Um, but this is a very tough schedule. I thought it was pretty funny that they put the Cowboys in the hunt in the
I
graphic that
saw
said in the
that.
hunt. You saw that?
I was just about to mention that. The Cowboys are officially in the hunt.
Which
Four,
is
five,
pretty.
and one. All four wins.
Yeah, and there's I mean this to make the playoffs at this point, it seems like you have to win at least two out of these 3 games in the next sequence, this Philadelphia, Kansas City, Detroit. I mean, who do you see us doing that? Do you have confidence in the Cowboys doing that?
I think they can for sure beat Philadelphia at home. I just feel like this team is locked in right now. I'm really iffy about Thanksgiving game. Usually this is a game where I feel like the Cowboys are relaxing. I'm eating my Thanksgiving food. They don't always win on Thanksgiving, as we know. But I usually feel as though on Thanksgiving it's a game that I don't feel so tense about. This game, when you have Patrick Mahomes coming home, AT&T Stadium, everybody in the country will be watching this right here. The Chiefs are desperate. They're just as desperate as the Cowboys, to be honest. And they lose a heartbreaker with Will Lutz's game-winning field goal in Mile High Stadium. I mean, they're just as desperate. They're going to be angry coming into AT&T Stadium. Going to need a win. Or at least the Cowboys haven't played the Chiefs in a few years. And the last time they played the Chiefs in AT&T Stadium, Alex Smith was the quarterback. And that's when Tyreek Hill had that buzzer beating touchdown at the end of the first half, if you remember that CBS game
I
before
do.
Patrick Mahomes was officially the starter. That was so long ago. I cannot believe that was the last time the Chiefs played the Cowboys in AT&T. But that's the game I'm worried the most about. I feel like the Cowboys this year can hang for sure with the Eagles. We saw it in the kickoff game, and they can hang with Detroit at Ford Field. We saw what Jared Goff can play like when he has pressure right in his face. Most quarterbacks can't survive like that when they have stout defenses, having solid pass rush in their face. And I don't know if it's crazy to say, but the way that interior D line played against Las Vegas, I feel like that gives them the chance, actually. Not the offense of the Cowboys, the front seven in Jared Goff's face because he's not a runner. He can't really escape the pocket. He is a statue in the pocket. He's a good quarterback for sure. He's one of my favorites to watch, believe it or not, amidst all the slander he gets. And after what he played like last game against the Eagles, rightfully so. It felt like he was throwing the game at sometimes. But for sure, I think this interior of Kenny Clark and Quentin Williams can keep the Cowboys alive in Detroit. But for sure, worry the most about the Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. I think it's possible to win two of three.
That's pretty interesting that you say the Chiefs are uh the most that you're worried about. I I think it's going to be very difficult. I mean, this is a make or break part of the season, obviously. Um, there is, the Eagles, I like to say that obviously they're one of the luckier teams in the NFL with how their games start to play out, but they're still obviously a Super Bowl team for a reason. Their defense has been locked down. I think they're only averaging like 15 points per game given up in the last 4 games. And that's a little concerning just based off the fact that basically these last 3 games, if you're gonna not count the Raiders game, which you should obviously, but going up against the Cardinals and Broncos, the Broncos have a great defense. Cardinals not so much. Those are some really, really tough losses, and they've shown that the offense has really started to slow down. Javonte Williams has also slowed down. Even in this game against Las Vegas, he didn't score a touchdown. He did get 22 rushes, I believe 93 yards. So obviously a great performance regardless, but he wasn't a necessarily a game breaker that we're going to need him to be against Philadelphia. And so. I'm just a tad worried about Philadelphia. I think that game is going to be a tough one to go against. The Chiefs, I think that the Chiefs have a chance, but they're 1-4 on the road too. They've been struggling on the road. It's honestly really weird to see how NFL teams can really, really struggle on the road, especially someone like the Chiefs, who are, used to playing in competitive games, used to playing in the high intensity stadiums. Usually when they come to town anywhere, people are dialed in, rooting against them. And so it is surprising to see. I think that the Chiefs are going to be able to rebound. They do have the Colts coming up on Sunday, which is another competitive game. The Colts are starting to slow down a little bit this season as well, so maybe that's their get back game. They come back Thanksgiving and are, a little lethargic, with their pregame meal or such. But yeah, I mean it's going to be a tough one. I don't have as much optimism as you do, with the Dallas Cowboys, but it's I guess we'll get into it because we'll talk about some prop bets for the Philadelphia Eagles game real quick. Um, so let me check the stats real quick. We have the betting line currently set to 3.5 points favoring Philadelphia. Joe, it sounds like you think that the Cowboys are going to cover that, right?
Absolutely. This to me feels free almost. I really think that the
Free.
Cowboys plus 3.5 is right there for the taking. My goodness. I mean, we know how Dak has played against the NFC East, but against the Eagles specifically, it's usually pretty solid. I trust that this team, specifically the offense, will get hot at the right time. I think that when they welcome the Eagles in, by the way, Eagles wearing their Kelly green throwbacks in AT&T Stadium. I love that decision, by the way. Going to be a great uniform matchup. I think that the Cowboys cover this plus 3.5. I know that doesn't matter, but it's just pretty cool. Plus 3.5
Pretty cool.
is for sure a play. It's going to be a battle of the red zone. I think plus 3.5 is right there for the taking.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. You know, I I've always been super confident with the Cowboys in games like this, being back home divisional rival, especially coming off a very emotional win like they just did. This game just feels like it's gonna be a dogfight, and the Cowboys are usually in it to have some high scoring shootouts. They're not used to the slow grind of a game I think that the Eagles are going to put on the Cowboys with their run game. We'll see if the run game can get fixed like they did against Vegas. It was dominant against Vegas, like you mentioned with Gene T. Saquon Barkley's a whole different monster, however, obviously, and um, it's going to be tough to stop him. He's not had a very good year up to his standards as recent years have been, but the Cowboys, he was able to run all over them. Jalen Hurts as well throughout that first half of the first game. So I'm going to go with Philadelphia does cover this, and maybe this is a little reverse
And by the
psychology.
way,
What's up? What's up?
I was going to say, by the way, this Eagles offense has not looked exactly, you know, stellar. The defense has been winning these last
Oh
two
no.
games. I mean, that I feel like that also helps the Cowboys' case to cover in this game in AT&T Stadium. I mean, against Detroit, Jared Goff, like I was saying, atrocious effort. That offense could not convert a fourth down to save their lives. And again, this credit to Vic Fangio as well, one of the best DCs in the game, so underrated. Could not believe Philadelphia picked him up last year in Miami, let him go. But back-to-back defensive gems against the Packers and the Lions that have led the way for the Eagles the last 2 games. And offensively, Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator, has caught a lot of flack, even winning these last. They've won 4 straight games, by the way. leading into this Dallas game. And you're still hearing complaints from fans, rightfully so. 10 points against Green Bay in Lambeau, won 16 points against Detroit in Philadelphia and still won. I think the offensive struggles will continue for sure against the Cowboys. And I don't know what Jalen Hurts can do with pressure up the middle.
The Eagles have a stat. I mean, it's really interesting you bring that up. I mean, Devontae Williams or not Devontae, Devontae Smith, um, AJ Brown, obviously, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts. Stat wise, they're not having the best years. Jalen Hurts, all right. Saquon Barkley, all right. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown have been pretty terrible. And other than if you take away that Minnesota game that they played in, where both of them went over 100 yards, I believe, um, it's been terrible. And for them to still be, I think 9-2 right now, 8-2,
Yeah,
something like
82,
that.
82.
Yeah, 8-2. That is incredible. That is just mind-boggling that they've still been able to win games. It's some kind of devil magic that keeps going on in that Lincoln Financial field. But I mean, do you think so? Do you think this is going to be 48 and a half over under? We've always gone over on this.
I like your idea of the dogfight. For that reason, it's going to be an under for me. I think this is going to be, again, a red zone battle. I think they can move the ball outside of the red zone for sure. You're going to see Dak do it and move the chains with this offense. I really trust that, especially in AT&T Stadium. But when it gets to the red zone, I think both teams are going to struggle. You're going to see more of a tush push from Philadelphia. I think under ever so slightly, possibly 45 points.
I'm gonna go under two. Um, I'm just gonna go with. Do you have a final score prediction?
I'll go Cowboys 25. No, this is not the number I said combined, but I'll say 25-22.
25-22. I'm gonna go Philadelphia 24, Cowboys 17. I'm just going off that. I mean, it's gonna be a tough game for the offense, I think. I mean, can they respond after Vegas? Can they keep that going? The Eagles, season low completion rate, or right now, the best team of opposed completion rate for the quarterback at 53.5 percentage rate in the last four games, 15.2 points per game in the last four, 12 sacks in those four games. They have been covering on all different aspects on the defense. I think the offense can struggle here, so going to be a tough one. I'm going to go 24-17, but that game will be on Sunday at 3:25 kickoff. Now moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, the 4-11 Dallas Mavericks. We do not know the outcome of the New York Knicks game, which will be held on Wednesday night. We're filming on a Wednesday morning, uploaded on a Thursday morning. But I mean, it's been obviously a tough one. You think that the team would kind of go on a high after the Nico Harrison fire, but the fans don't share the same sentiment as the players seem. A lot of the players seemed pretty disappointed of the firing, it seemed like, which is, obviously you can't really go on record and say that the trade was horrible. You got teammates that have been on that
Now,
are part of the trade that you don't want to call them out publicly like that, but it's a tad disappointing to see how the Mavericks have handled it afterwards. You wish that there would have been more of a celebration, more of a hopefully that would pick them up, but still struggling, still struggling. The latest game that we saw was a 24-point loss to Minnesota. But I mean, Cooper Flag's playing good, right? Playing pretty good.
he's played pretty good, especially in that OT game against the Trailblazers. Um, Honestly insane. They found a way to come back in the game, if you will, come back. It wasn't exactly an insane deficit in the game. A deficit of 10 in the NBA today is like deficit of five, pretty much. It's not insane to overcome. But you look at games like they had against the T-Wolves, that's just it's so sad how this team has um been just hijacked and how that was a game in Minnesota that they were just never in. They never had a shot, basically. And there was a time where, you can compete against these conference rivals in the West, and the Thunder and the T-Wolves. And what makes it so much worse is that the season before, the season that the Mavs went to the finals, they eliminated these same teams in the Thunder and the T-Wolves, and they just can't compete at all this year. I mean, it's unreal to watch. We see how the Thunder are this year as a one-loss team. But this year, the Mavs, it's just depressing to watch. I'm sure we'll get into the news of about how the Mavs are listed with Vegas. That's come about the last 2 days, but hard to watch, especially that Minnesota game in that Minneapolis. Not even close. Just a poor effort. They were outmatched, outshot, out physicaled. That's what happens when you have, a GM that just sabotaged your team. I trust that Cooper Flag can pan out, but when you don't have, other gamers there, I know Anthony Davis is still sidelined, but it's just hard to watch for this team because it just felt like pure sabotage. This team looks like they don't have it in them in this first half of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, eight games in, this offense has been pretty terrible. The defense on the other side has picked it up just a tad bit, but still pretty bad. You got eight players right now averaging over 10 points per game. One of them, of course, being Anthony Davis, who's only played 5 games. But, um, there's just, you just wish that some people could pick it up again. Max Christie is a very young player. You expect him to have some very good potential, especially being the second part of the Luka Doncic trade. But he's still averaging only 12 points per game. You wish that you could see him be a 15 point per game player, the 3 and D player that the team really needs. I don't think PJ Washington is technically a 3 and D because he's not too good of a 3 point shooter. Cooper Flag, the same as there. And he's been playing more of a playmaking role, especially with Kyrie being hurt. But there's been rumors about Kyrie. Mark Stein put out a report saying that he, if the playoffs were today, he looks like he could be playing. He's been ramping up. He's been successful in his rehab. There's still some hope. Do you think that the Mavericks still make the playoffs?
If they do, it's based off the play-in. And it's not going to be because they're a top six seed. It's because they're a 9 or 10 and they run the table and get hot at the right time. I don't think it's because they find a way to win
Yeah,
20 of their last 25. I don't think Kyrie Irving will have that kind of effect on his return. It's hard to feel like there's much hope in this season, as you've said in the past 3 weeks of the pod. But I think that it is encouraging that what Mark Stein is saying, it looks like he is ramping up, and I didn't expect that he'd look so good for this offense, who desperately needs some uh, in the history of basketball, let alone this team. So I think that for sure it'll be a jolt. I don't know if it means that it's a whole 180 for the Mavs season. I'm not convinced of that. I don't know about you.
No, I'm not too entirely convinced either. I think that it's going to balance out the team a little bit more, obviously. I'm getting a little tired of D'Angelo Russell already. 15 games into the season, already getting pretty tired of D'Angelo Russell. And, I think Brendan Williams is a great option. Not necessarily a great perimeter defender, but, a decent playmaker and obviously a very good scorer. Um, and so, I mean, it's just, again, it's obvious that this team has been tailored to a playmaking guard that is a superstar. And without that playmaking superstar guard, they're really, it's just YMCA offense. I mean, it's just YMCA offense. Just dribble around, find somebody that's open, a lot of ISOs, a lot of post ups. I mean,
It's
it's just straight up
unreal.
YMCA. And so, they got to I mean,
It's bad.
Jason Kidd has just never been an offensive mastermind. He's always been more on the defensive side. And unfortunately, the defense isn't helping him out. It's not picking him up. It's not picking up the offense. And the offense in return has been worse than it usually has. And obviously, that has a lot to do with not having Luke on the team. And, your star players hurt all the time. Kyrie's hurt. But, it's still supposed to be the whole point of this Mavericks squad is they're supposed to have depth. They're injured. They're always going to be injured. You're supposed to have depth. Where's the depth at right now? They're not stepping up. Najee Marshall's still averaging his usual season highs. D'Angelo Russell's still doing, D'Angelo Russell hasn't done much. Max Christie's still averaging his normal season averages. PJ Washington the same as well. None of these people have really picked it up to kind of take off or to take the scoring load that Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving had. So, it's if they can't figure out how to play as a team, which they still haven't done, they're not going to get anywhere. And hopefully Kyrie's leadership can help bring that back to the court, bring some chemistry into this team because right now it's just tough to watch. It's really tough to watch. You thought again it would give me a boost for the team that now that the fans aren't actively rooting for them with Nico gone, but it's still the same old team, still the same old problems. So they're gonna have to fix something. Don't know what it is. Um, it's basically everything. They need to fix everything if
Yeah,
they want to make the playoffs.
yeah.
So
4-11 start as we sit here on this Wednesday morning, and it looks bleak. My goodness, I haven't seen Mavs basketball struggle like this in a few years. It feels like it's almost freshman year of high school again.
yeah, it's pretty bad. So moving on to the Dallas Stars. Jamie Benn has finally returned for a season debut on Tuesday night against the New York Islanders. Um, Fortunately, the game ended pretty controversial, a pretty controversial ending. Mikko Rantanen, unfortunately, had a uh, pretty dirty play, I guess you can say. It was not good. Patrick Roy was very, very heated about the moment. He gets pushed in. He kind of leads his weight into the Islanders player, which is obviously not a good look at all. So hope that guy's all right. Fortunately, that was a really rough way to lose a game and not get a point out of that game against the Islanders. You can say what you want about the goalie interference, but again, this team needs to play better at the start of games. It is critical. It's critical. They can win all these games, but they have these nagging issues that keep on dragging with them while they're winning these games. They're just on a 5-game win streak, so it feels bad to just rant about this stuff. But the Islanders at home, they've been a pretty mediocre team. They're having a decent year this year, but you need to have those fast starts, especially at home. It's just disappointing to see that they cannot fix that. Maybe Jamie Benn. There's nothing that I don't think Jamie Benn returning is the biggest help. I think that getting your captain back, the leadership is a big, big help, but I don't think he adds too much skill wise on the ice at this point in his career. So, hopefully that's something. Hopefully that's something that they can get, figured out. Because it's time's starting to tick. Time's starting to tick on that issue getting fixed. But
Or
anyways,
you cut it. I couldn't hear the last part.
just saying they got to get this stuff. Hopefully they can get it fixed because the time is ticking.
Yeah,
Still
for
early
sure.
in
I
the
mean,
league.
fresh off those four straight wins. Fresh off those four straight wins, you do like to see the streak extend, but you know, bad way for that to end. Understand why most fans are upset. But as far as the start goes, I think generally you can't be too upset, right?
No, no, I mean,
And a new era of Glenn Gluckson, right? Different era,
yeah.
but
You thought it would
has
take
to
a
be
while
fine
for
in
him
general.
to kind of get the players under him and be able to get some good lineups going, but he's done a great job so far, I believe. And um, it's just it's just too hard to get super excited about the regular season at this point. I think the Stars actually lead the league in regular season points in the last 3 seasons. All 3 seasons have ended in the Western Conference Finals. So, um, it's hard. They look like the same old Stars from years prior. Um, they didn't do too much in the offseason to kind of change that. I like that they got Foxa back. But I mean, it's gonna be they got to be aggressive in the deadline. They got to be aggressive with, maybe trading for another defensive player, especially with Harley being kind of off the ice for a little bit now. Obviously, the deadline's a far way away. Harley's probably, knock on wood, gonna be healthy at that point of the season. Obviously, he's not gonna be out for long. But it's maybe a top six guy. I know Krilowicz said that, but I think they need to lean on defense as well here. The defense has been pretty bad so far to start this season, and so, um, yeah, still looking, still head high on the Stars. best team in Dallas right now, most competent team in Dallas. Unfortunately, the team that's lost 3 years straight in the Western Conference Finals is that. But hey, that's still a very hard feat to get to. So, but the thing that's been interesting recently is that you know our teams are fighting. Our teams are fighting. The Stars and Mavericks. I don't know if you can really call the Mavs our team anymore because it seems like it's the ownership's team. But in the recent filing of this legal issue that these two teams are having is that the Stars have recently cited that the Mavericks are headquartered, or they put in their, in their name that they are headquartered in Las Vegas. I mean, obviously the owners are from Vegas. They own casinos in Vegas. But shouldn't the Mavericks, I mean, why are you putting the Mavericks headquartered in Vegas? What's up with that? You know?
This is disgusting. And, we know what this is. It was conspiracy at first, but with that news breaking out, it's starting to feel like more of a reality. And at this point, just go. I said that to you yesterday. I feel rips my heart out as a lifelong fan. Terry, Luka Doncic, so many legends doesn't care about the fans. They clearly been about the money. At this point, we know what the it's been. Patrick Dumont, who is the husband, time to divide the fan base up. So this team has played thus far this year. They want to divide this fan base up, make them less passionate. You'll see that it usually is. We have the fans leave and not show up to support the team. That's perfect for them to say, you know what? Oh, it's the fans' fault. Let's dip to Las Vegas, which is our plan the whole time. And they'll blame us when they wanted to go the whole time. So that's just how ownership has gone. You see it with the Oakland A's and how they've dipped, and the Raiders of how they've dipped. So very sad, honestly, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I don't see again. I got a massive side on Patrick Dumont. I think that he's talking about being committed to Dallas is just shady. It seems like there's some hands being crossed or fingers being crossed behind his back when he says that stuff. And you know, I I'm if they go to Vegas, obviously I'll be devastated. I have some Maverick stuff all over. I think I'll believe that, hopefully they'll change the name, change the brand if they were to move to Vegas, be the Gamblers or something. Not the Mavericks. The Mavericks do kind of fit for a Vegas team. But if obviously Dallas will get another NBA team in no time, and hopefully it would just be back to the Mavericks, and maybe Mark Cuban leads the team again or something, and you get some old faces in there, and it feels like the Mavericks again. But um, I'll obviously be devastated. The Mavericks, they just I feel like the Stars, I feel like the Stars are like Dallas's worst enemy for some of these sports teams, other than the Stars, of course, because they're naturally not really a team that gets talked about a lot within Dallas. Obviously, Dallas is a good hockey city. The Stars have very dedicated fans. They're not just, they're not like the Florida Panthers, they're not like Florida Panthers fans or something like that. They're not Vegas fans either. They are real fans, and I think that I think that sometimes when they get the attention, taken off from the Mavericks, when the Cowboys or the Mavericks or the Rangers are playing bad, some people always be like, at least the Stars are playing good. They've always been able to steal the spotlight from the other teams just because they've been the only competent team in the Metro for the last 10 or so years. And I think that teams get jealous from the Stars sometimes. And maybe that's what they're doing here in the American Airlines Center lawsuit. I highly doubt that. I think that these are just business people that don't understand the context of, um, you know, Dallas sports and the emotion that can be caught up in, the Mavericks and being both a Mavs and Stars fan. I think that they're just, I think they're just greedy business people. But it could also be because the Stars are just, they're always competitive and they're always stealing spotlights from the other major teams in Dallas. So
I like that perspective. It does feel like jealousy sometimes. It really does. Um, Mark Cuban, I don't know if I can ever forgive you, man. You have just selling the majority stake is just it's changed the game in Dallas for Fort Worth sports. I can't believe it. I love Mark Cuban, but man, he really dropped the ball with this stake. Then
they might be
again, I
going
don't have
crazy.
then again, I don't have billions of dollars. I'm not a businessman. But come on, man, look what's happened since he sold this stake. It's unreal to watch how the Mavericks have been unraveled. They've been one of the better examples of, at least a consistent front office presence that cares about sports in America. One of the best, even with, lousy general managers that he's had and guys like Donnie Nelson and a poor lead in basketball operations that Cuban has been here and there. At least the team has been consistent in showing that they care about building a winning franchise. I don't know if we see that with the DeMonts, and it's only been a year and some change of their ownership. Very sad.
The Stars definitely think a lot more long term. That's why they've been able to avoid a rebuild for so long, unlike the Mavericks who have gone through now probably going to be two rebuilds in the span of I would say about 10 years. And so it's a this lawsuit. Obviously, I think a lot of people are siding with the Stars. So, hopefully they can make some sense in the Mavericks, maybe humble them a little bit because they seem like they're just getting a little too out of hand. They've obviously been out of hand since the Luka trade, but this is just to top it all off with Dallas sports. The whole pandemonium of this year is that now they're going up against each other in suits. They're going to court together. So this is you know, can't make this shit up. Um, so, anyways, that's gonna do it for the rest of this episode. I know we're gonna talk Rangers, but it's all right. This is the 214 Sports Show. If you enjoyed us, like and subscribe. We have the links down below. You can also follow us on Spotify if you're watching on that. I doubt you are. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, and on TikTok. We post extra content there. That's gonna be at 214 Sports Show. Joe, put out your socials.
And like and follow me on Instagram, or not like, or follow and subscribe to my accounts at Joseph_Duffy99. I'm on Instagram and TikTok or Twitter as well at Joseph_Duffy99.
And you can follow me on X at TJ_Krilowicz and also on Instagram at TJ.Krilowicz. Once again, this was episode 94, the Marshawn Kneeland episode. This episode is dedicated to you, Marshawn. Rest in peace. We'll see you next week for episode 95.